Hey everybody, Tyler Zeck here, founder of the Marketing Mentorship Academy and the creator of the Essential Marketing System for Small Business, and welcome to your Marketing Minute. I'm glad you're tuned in. In today's episode, I'm actually going to be picking up on where we left off from our last episode. I don't usually do that, but the topic from our last episode I think is just so important to small business owners that it bears going a little bit deeper. And so that's what I want to do here in today's episode. And of course, the topic we were covering in the last episode and that we're going to continue with here today is that of motivation. And if you missed our last episode, the link is on this page. I encourage you to go back and check out the last episode. But we talked specifically about your mission. And we talked about how if you have a strong enough why, then you're going to do the hard work and you're going to overcome whatever obstacles life throws at you. Because let's face it, business is hard, right? And if you're going to overcome to become, then you need to know why you're getting out of bed every single morning to do it, right? What's the purpose of it all? And what's so amazing for us as humans is that we get to decide that purpose. You know, so often people sit around every day and it's like they're waiting for lightning to strike them with this divine purpose. And I firmly believe that you get to choose your own purpose in life. All right, one of the amazing gifts that God has given us is the freedom of choice, this free will. And that's something that separates humans from every other creature on the planet, is our freedom to choose. And so you get to choose a purpose that's going to fire you up, that you find meaningful. And that is something that if it's deep enough to your own heart, that will help to begin to spark the flames of motivation within you, because your mission and your motivation are very closely tied. And that's one of the reasons why mission is a topic that a lot of traditional business coaches discuss, right? And they work with. And a lot of times a small business owner will hear this subject of mission and they kind of think that it's, you know, maybe too artsy-fartsy, you know, it's not practical. How do I actually take this information about my mission and actually apply it in my business so that I can grow? And, you know, hopefully today's video helps to break that down for you a little bit, where you can begin to see the practical application of your mission. But it really does boil down to your motivation. And I know that business owners are motivated, and you might be sitting there right now thinking, you know what, I'm already motivated. I don't need to learn more about motivation. And I get that. Business owners are motivated. I believe that if you weren't motivated, you wouldn't have started your business in the first place. So I totally get that. But wouldn't you agree as well that motivation tends to fluctuate? Right? One week you'll be extremely motivated and you're on fire and you're out there and you're doing what you got to do. And then the next week, maybe that motivation starts to wane a little bit, right? And it does tend to fluctuate in our lives. And I think if you're honest with yourself, you would see that there's some truth to that. And so what we want to do for you as a business owner is we want to give you some tools whereby you can maintain high levels of motivation, because if you can do that, then the road from where you are to where you ultimately want to be is going to be much shorter. And that would be good, yes? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that. And like I say, last week we explored mission and how your mission is tied to motivation. And this week we're going to look at the other area that a lot of business coaches often discuss with their clients, and that's this topic of vision. And these two things, sometimes a business owner will separate these two things. They'll say, well, we've got this mission idea concept over here, and then we've got this vision concept over here, and the two of them don't really touch. But the reality is that a well thought out vision is actually going to tie in very closely with your mission. Because what is a vision really? Well, a vision is your ideal reality. All right, it's the nicely painted picture of what your business, what your life, and what your world ideally is going to look like someday in the future. And if you have a mission that really means something to you, then there's a very good chance that your vision is going to be the accomplishment of that mission. So to say that another way, if we were to actually accomplish our mission, then what would our business and our lives and the world look like then? All right, so from that standpoint, your vision and your mission are actually very closely tied together. And like we already said, your mission is very tightly aligned with your motivation, and therefore logic would dictate that your vision is going to help shape your motivation as well. Hopefully this is making sense. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a bit of a formula here where you can begin to see kind of how your vision helps to shape your motivation. And just full disclosure here, none of this is actually mine. I'm borrowing straight from best-selling author Brendon Burchard in his best-selling book, The Motivation Manifesto. And if you've never read The Motivation Manifesto, I strongly encourage you to go pick that one up. I'm going to include a link on this page where you can go get it. I believe that it is probably the best book on the subject of motivation out there, and I've read a lot of them, and Brendon, his stuff is great. I think he's one of the greatest thought leaders of our generation, and if you don't follow Brendon Burchard, if you haven't checked out any of his stuff, that would be my recommendation for you, and start with the Motivation Manifesto. It's his most recent work, and I think it's his best one yet, and so go ahead and pick that up, make that your next read. But in the Motivation Manifesto, Brendon talks about two things that make up our motivation. And I'm going to try to make this is going to pop up. I'm doing something new here on this episode. If you're listening to the audio version of this episode, then by all means go to tylerzeck.com/blog, find the video, or it's also on YouTube. Find the video so you can actually see the diagram that kind of goes along with this episode. But I'm going to walk you through it so it'll make sense to you if you're hearing it as well. But it's going to pop up here on the screen beside me, I hope. Brendon talks about these two areas, ambition and expectancy. And what are we really talking about here? Well, ambition is the vision. All right, ambition is having a picture, an image for something better, an ideal life, something that drives us forward because we want to accomplish it. And so, like I was just saying, the vision, hopefully for yourself, is the accomplishment of the mission. Because if your vision and your mission are aligned, then you have a vision that actually is going to mean something to you. If you have a vision that you are not emotionally connected to, then you will likely not have any ambition. All right, so a vision that you are emotionally connected to is going to shape your ambition. And that's the beginning, according to Brendon Burchard, that's the beginning of where motivation is born. And then he talks about this other area, which is expectancy. And the word that I would use for that is faith. All right? Do you believe that this grand vision that you've created for yourself, do you believe that you can actually have that? And when this ambitious vision for your life and the belief that it can be accomplished, where those two things intersect, that is where we begin to find our motivation. All right? And so that's the birthplace of motivation, is where ambition and expectancy come together. But the challenge for you, and no doubt for yourself, you have that, right? That's where your motivation began, is in this area of ambition. You had a vision for a better future for yourself, and you believed it was possible, and boom, motivation was formed. But it's very easy, like I just said, we can have our motivation fluctuate, yes? So in order to hold this together so that we can sustain that motivation, we need to keep these things together. And the two things that Brendon says we can use to continue to maintain and sustain our motivation is attention and effort. So are you spending time every single day thinking about your vision and imagining the accomplishment of it? Because if you don't spend any time thinking about the thing that motivates you, if you get lost in distraction of busy work or maybe meetings that are just kind of, and you're not taking time, if you get too focused on the day-to-day, and you get myopic in your thinking where you lose sight of the big picture and you lose sight of the bigger vision that's you've set for yourself, and you begin losing the faith that you can have it, then you're going to begin to lose your motivation. So to sustain your motivation, we need to keep your eyes focused on those two things. And then we also need to make sure that there is effort present. Because if you're not taking action on a daily basis to move towards your grand vision, then your motivation will begin to wane there as well. All right. And again, I know you're all busy, you're all working, but are you spending your time each and every day doing the things that are going to move you towards the vision? Because if day after day after day you're working, but the work you do, you don't deeply believe that it's moving you towards this greater, brighter future for yourself, then again, your motivation is slowly going to decrease. So it's very important for you that you are focusing and working towards this vision and that you maintain that faith. All right, hopefully this is making sense. Again, read Motivation Manifesto, because Brendon will do a much better job describing his theory than I am in this very short video. All right, but hopefully this gives you a bit of an idea that you can begin to put into place. All right. Then what we want to do, once we've sustained our motivation, Brendon gives us two things that we can do to begin to fan the flames of our motivation so that it can continue to grow and expand in our lives. And the two areas that he discusses is attitude and environment. Do you maintain the right attitude in your life on a day-to-day basis? Do you stay optimistic? Do you stay positive? Because it can be very easy to allow the unmet expectations of the world and some of the challenges that we need to overcome to allow to get at our psyche a little bit, and we begin to slowly over time get a little bit more critical in our thinking, and we begin to lose sight of that bigger picture because we're getting negative and we're getting pessimistic, and we begin to lose our faith that it's possible. So we need to maintain a positive attitude. And there's really two areas where we can maintain a positive attitude. The first area is in ourselves. We need to remember that we get to choose our attitude each and every day. And the sooner we remember that happiness is a choice, and that motivation is a choice, and that, optimism and staying positive is a choice, then that will make the biggest difference at the end of the day. But the moment you start feeling, if you start giving up conscious control over your emotional state, and you begin allowing yourself to fall into, doubtful thinking, then you're going to struggle. So this is a conscious choice, and you need to begin to get control over your conscious thinking to make sure you can stay in this positive attitude. And one of the things that can help you to stay in this positive attitude is to set up the right environment for you. So let me ask you a very important question. Are you surrounded with positive people? Because we are sponges and we tend to pick up what the world is throwing at us. And so if you're surrounding yourself with people that steal your energy, that steal your positive thinking, that make you think more critical, to be like them, then those are the types of people that you might not want to surround yourself with as much. And obviously, I'm not saying to go kick off, get rid of your friends, get rid of your spouse, get rid of, no, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that you need to be responsible for yourself in terms of fostering and creating an environment that is going to serve your purposes. So it's about people, and it's also about circumstances. Where do you put yourself? Are you subjecting yourself to the wrong types of media and letting that into your environment so that it can begin to influence and poison your overall attitude? And when these components are set up, so you kind of have ambition and expectancy at the heart of motivation being held together with attention and effort, and then ultimately you grow it with the right attitude and by building the right environment for yourself. And if you put these pieces of the puzzle in place in your life and in your business, then look out, because I am confident that nothing will be able to stand in your way and you will achieve tremendous levels of success. So I hope you find this helpful, and I hope most of all that you find it practical. All right, having a vision is very practical because you can actually use it to propel yourself forward to do the work that needs to be done. And if you ever find yourself beginning to lose motivation in your life, then I encourage you, come back and take in this episode again. Definitely, like I already said, pick up Brendon's book, and that's it. Keep at this fight, because nothing is more important to your success than you maintaining your motivation. So thanks for tuning in. I went a little bit longer in this episode than I do in most of my episodes, but hopefully you found this extremely helpful. And I encourage you, please do give me your comments, feedback, questions. I always engage with my followers in these episodes, and I appreciate that you took the time to come here and to take in this information. I love you for it. And until I see you on next week's episode, make sure you keep going and keep growing. I'll see you soon.